Good evening. It's one of our evening sessions, this, mate.
It's our only evening session so far, isn't it? I like it.
Centre Spot UK TV, and here we are again. Familiar surroundings to Mike and I. Different side. Started off our very first one there, over there, just by the gate. It's not raining. Better mics. Haven't we come a long way?
We have.
But yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to be anywhere because life's good.
Absolutely. And we're at the oldest football ground in the world.
Yeah.
Why are we here, Simon?
Well, we're here because, as posted a few weeks ago, as we just got a few opinions from people watching on the YouTubes, on the Facebooks.
On the Facebook.
On the Facebook.
Yeah, I sound like a granddad then.
Yeah.
On their Facebook.
Yeah, on the gramophone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's taken us a little bit of time to sift through that, and thank you for your opinions, because obviously it's not just about Mike and I talking about this, but we are talking about the 115 Manchester City, and that's not a bus from Piccadilly that takes you up to the Eastlands.
It should be.
It'd be ironic if it did.
That'd be the PR stunt of an half, wouldn't it?
It'd be even more PR if it brought you back. But yeah, that's what we're talking about tonight. Mike's done a little bit of the research.
I have.
I'm intrigued to hear these because, as you know, we like to do things pretty much off the cuff here. So you are going to get our honest opinion. There's nothing.
No, there's nothing
scripted on it, is there, Mike?
No,
and there is no script to this.
There's never. That's every part of our life, I think.
No, I think what we're talking about as well. This is uncharted water, uncharted territories. In fact, it's not uncharted. Are we in water? I don't know. It's not.
Anyway,
open.
So
Cosmos, man.
We're I think the thing is with these charges, and we're also going to talk about City's decision to sue the Premier League for unlawful laws, and I think the thing is all we've been told is that there's charges, and we've been told a very brief overview of what the charges are that have been brought against Manchester City. So I shall just get my phone out.
We're going to go through those and take each case by case and just have a bit of an opinion.
Yeah.
And a little bit of what people have thrown in on there as well. I think I just found a divot there. If I went quite small, it wasn't, my leg's just gone.
So there are 115 charges. So we'll read through the whole thing first and then we'll go back. So 54 counts of failure to provide accurate financial information from 2009 to 2018. 14 times of a failure to provide accurate details for player and manager payments from the same time, 2009 to 2018. 5 counts of failure to comply with UEFA's rules, including financial fair play between 2013 and 2018. 7 counts of breaching the Premier League's PSR rules between 2015 and 2018. And here's the one that I mentioned to you before, which I find baffling, because if they had complied, Manchester City had complied, then 35 of them wouldn't even be there. Failure to cooperate with Premier League investigations between December 2018 and February 2023, which is when the charges were first brought to light. So we've been going 17 months without anything further happening. 115 breaches in total. These allegations of financial misconduct go back to 2009, which were highlighted in Der Spiegel, the German newspaper. They leaked the material. So let's start with majority of it is just it's financial faults, isn't it, really? It's not.
I think what's interesting, going to Der Spiegel again there, is they have been like a dog with a bone here. If it was British press, you'd kind of like think there's an element of sensationalisation in there. Sensationalisation? Our speech has gone weird tonight.
It has.
Yeah, sensationalism in there, especially if it was a red top, because none of us really kind of like believe what they print. But Der Spiegel is quite a legitimate source of journalism in Germany, and they've just not let it go. I think also as we look at that, just going back to when we did the Everton one and Notts Forest and all the other teams which are muting around, are they in trouble, are they not in trouble? We're looking at 1, 2 charges tops. There's a hell of a lot to talk about there. I certainly wouldn't like to be pulled up by the side of the road and a cop will say, right, I'm pulling you over because I've got this, because you think, by God, do I need some kind of lawyer to get me out of this?
Yeah.
Which goes over to challenging the Premier League.
Yeah, they've decided to go first and say,
we're going to go back to that.
We'll sue you for unlawful laws. And I suppose it goes back to, you think, to 20 years ago, Chelsea just ripped up the financial rule book in football, didn't they? They just came in, Abramovich came in and bought whatever the hell they wanted.
Yeah.
They won every single title. And now 20 years later, they're looking at City and thinking, how do we get around that? Well, we'll sell assets, we'll give players long contracts.
Yeah.
Which again, it's not against the laws of football.
That's an account. Well, it's not against the laws of a business, that easing, if you like, and putting something out over time. We mentioned it at Everton as well. You know, you've got a player on a 5-year contract, and over that 5 years, you reduce the cost of it into 20% over that 5-year period. And everyone's at it. I'm trying to think who's just signed a player, and you were telling me
West Ham just signed a 7-year player. I don't know who it is. Just trying to set a player on a 7-year contract.
A 7-year contract. It's.
But as I said when I told you,
could equally backfire.
Well, it could backfire within 2 years. You could think either A, they could get a long-term injury, and that could be the end of it. You're then paying this player for another 5-6 years. They could massively flop, as we know. Premier League isn't for everyone. Yeah. Some players flourish in France or Spain or Germany. Some players don't flourish in those leagues and do it in England, and vice versa. You look at Diego Forlan all those years ago for Manchester United.
Yeah.
Pretty average for United. Oh, he was
great
okay.
In Spain.
And then, in Spain, Radamel Falcao. Phenomenal in France.
Yeah.
Phenomenal in Spain.
End of a career, I guess.
Yeah, but failed at United and Chelsea. It just sometimes it doesn't happen. So
Severon, if you want to go that far
absolutely.
back,
Some
United
of those
and
7-year contracts, it's a huge gamble. It's almost like putting a car on lease for 7 years and thinking after 4 years you might go, I want to change my car, but I've got another 3 years with this.
I think that also leads to you mentioned Chelsea getting away with it because there was no rules. Obviously, rules created. Let's get these rules in to try and get some form of control on that. I think if you could wrap this up in a theme, it's like there's no plan. There's no plan B. We didn't know what we set out to do.
Yeah.
Let's put these rules in very quick. And as again we discussed, how can you hit a club with penalties midway through a season? That just absolutely smacked of indecision to me.
Yeah.
No thought, just go out there and do it. You can imagine some yes man going, are you sure? Yeah, go and do it. Right, okay, it's not mine.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that's going on. It's like, it's not my fault. I'm not the man that made the rule. I'm not, there's no one who's standing up saying, the reason why we're doing it is for this, and, a case in court always refers back to a case previous. But we've not even got anything tangible to hang your hat on there, Paul Young.
I don't think they were talking about that when they sang that.
Yeah.
But let me just get this back up. I think that the thing that I would like to think is, you look at the 35 charges where they have failed to cooperate from December 2018.
Let's have a look at those first.
So you think, at that point, when the Premier League clearly opened their investigations, had City complied, would they have just got a slap on the wrist? Or what? I don't really understand.
Well, again, how would we know? Because two teams did try to comply, and they still got two very different verdicts.
Yep.
And it was a case of the Premier League seemed to be laying the track as the train was running. And Forest and Everton were like, well, are we okay to say that we disagree with it? You seem to be really that hacked off with us that you give us more grief for
rather than just
disagreeing or even agreeing. Sort of like, I always thought that law was, prove the guilt, but they were almost going through that, proving their innocence. So I don't know. Is that because they went up the wrong bloody tree with it, the Premier League, and thought, let's flex our muscles, as we've said it before, with someone who hasn't got the same ability to amass a corporate team to go against us. Did they do that to put one across the bows of City because of those, where it was like, well, we didn't ever encounter, we didn't ever imagine that someone had countered us because this is our club, this is our game, this is our.
Well, like I said to you, the Premier League are damned if they do and damned if they don't, aren't they? Because if they don't push ahead with this, then every other club will be like, why have you not done that? You know, like you have said, Everton and Forest just got done. There was no question about it. But if they do go ahead with it and then they win, then surely the external factors like the external leagues or, you know, European clubs who've maybe lost out to a Champions League will say you've had a corrupted league for X amount of years. You've had a team who've been, well, cheating almost, really.
Yeah. Which the only precedence that you have on that is Marseille and Juve.
Yeah.
When action was taken and
Rangers as well.
And to clear the reputation of that league, they had to come down really hard. Rangers have been hit the most, haven't they? I mean, they were out of the league. So again, are City playing a game here? The people that own City, are they playing a game here that, go on then, tell us what you'll do about it? And now that they are, and then they went so far, and they were going quite gung-ho when they came out with these charges initially. Yeah. And then they've totally receded back into the trees. And in some respects, I don't actually blame City for turning around and going, well, you know, you seem a bit toothless. So I'll tell you what, let's go to court. It's almost like in America, when someone takes you to court, and then while that process is going, you're already making a case for, well, if it doesn't go my way, I'm going to counter that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like a never revolving, you know, it has no start, it has no end. What will it be? And that's just off those.
I think we need Jerry Springer. Just get Sheikh Mansour on one chair, and what's the guy, the head of the Premier League, can sit on one chair, and we'll just have a fisticuffs, so a couple of security guards. But it does kind of smack. Obviously, we asked a few of you guys we asked everybody. And we've got a good few responses
mixed bag, City
about
and
requests.
If anyone's neutral to this, but
on what do you think to City suing the Premier League? What are your opinions? And I'll read a couple. Leave a couple of words out. There were some very funny ones. So we had...
You can't control the public, man.
True. We had Derek Wilson, Facebook, saying, only bringing these charges to the Premier League to try and get the 115 dropped. That says guilty to me. Jordan Ryan says, seems a bit suspicious to say, well, we think your rules are unlawful after you've charged us 115 times. We had Liam Williams say, I think it's ludicrous. They've come off the back of winning the Premier League 4 times in a row, including a treble. And just because they got all these charges hanging against them, they wanted to take on the league and set some kind of new precedent. And then we had Ian Johnson saying, it seems to me these rules are set up because the existing big clubs don't want the likes of Newcastle and Man City being able to eventually overtake them. But then Ian makes a good point, because you think back to the Premier League winners in 1995, Blackburn Rovers. Historically, probably the first club to really... I mean, every club's paid for success because you have to compete, but they were the first kind of notable ones to spend money and win a Premier League, weren't they, really? Like, not, I appreciate everyone's done it, but they were kind of the first smaller club to go, right, I'm going to buy Alan Shearer, we're going to buy Chris Sutton, we're going to buy a team and win the Premier League.
An organic sort of testing, though, isn't it? Because, you know, even Manchester United, the first team to break the players' wage cap. An incident
always comes back to Manchester United.
No, but an incident in its own. Well, I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. It's that long ago, and let's face it, you know, God knows how many players have gone for big money since then from every club, and get paid an awful lot of money. But it's almost done in little ways to test it, and that's quite manageable for a league, isn't it? Any league, it's quite, okay, well, you've done that. There's not a lot we can actually do with it. The Bosman ruling, that was the last thing that I remember as being a massive thing, you know. But these are done in little increments.
Yeah. Do you not think...
It's like this is... They've been slow to react, certainly on those. Okay, if you're not complying, we're going to come down heavy, but they've been slow to react. So the temptation is, if I put it in this term, you're a business and you got away with doing your VAT 1 year, and the VAT man's not come round, give it another whirl next year. He doesn't come round for the second year. Third year, it's like, VAT? Never heard of it. And then he kind of like comes and slaps you 10 years later. What do you expect to happen?
Yeah.
If that was the VAT man, what would happen?
Yeah, true.
You're doing choky and you're going to have a lot of money to pay back.
I love how you say choky. I just obviously think immediately to Matilda for a start.
Well, it sounds a bit better than saying that jail word, doesn't it?
That jail word.
But
well, going on what you say there, do you not think
what I'm getting at there is this is pushed and pushed and pushed. Premier League, someone within there must think we're on such a big precipice here now that we almost can't not take some really draconian action. But has their indecision in not getting them to the table sooner caused that? Because if they actually did do something in real time, and let's face it, the horse didn't just kind of like bolt the stable last year. He kind of like bolted. He'd been on holiday. He'd had kids. He'd now set up his own business. And so they decided to take it out on Everton and take it out on
It's a very
Forest.
entrepreneurial horse.
They've absolutely put themselves in a corner. And what's interesting with the comments there, I'm not knocking anyone's comments, and it's very indicative of society now. And I do blame things like X Factor and Britain's Got Talent and instant sort of like gratification. It's put it into a case of like, there's right or there's wrong.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully what we're trying to do, because I don't think we've put an opinion on this, and I hope we haven't, there's a massive grey area, but this grey area is like, it's like the Sahara Desert, it's that massive. I
don't think we need to put an opinion on it, because the reason we do what we do with Centre Spot...
Well, if we had an opinion on it and we knew it, we'd be bloody geniuses.
Of course. But the reason we are bringing this to the table and to your video is... because we're doing it for football. We want an answer. It wouldn't matter if it was Manchester City, even if it was Bolton Wanderers, Manchester United. It doesn't matter who it would be. But for football itself, the danger of Manchester City successfully suing the Premier League, the ramifications could be ginormous. But then the point I was going to make before was, do you think that this instant gratification thing you mentioned, do you not think it's because new owners, so whether it's the Saudis who own Newcastle, Saudis who own City, Americans who own Liverpool, do you not think it's a case of we're going to put this money in and we want a result within the next 2 to 3 years? Which means they then break rules, because you can't slowly build a business up like you did with like Manchester United or like any other club has done over the past, where you want to just see slow bits of success, a couple of positions each year to 8 years' time, Champions League. Now it's a case of, if we're putting this money in, we want results and we want it now. So we have to break the rules, because the reason that the Premier League are putting these rules in place, well, not the reason, the implication is on teams like Newcastle. Teams like Manchester United now, because of the position you're in the Premier League, where you can't just go out and get somebody for 150 million to try and get you to where you should be.
We don't know what we've got to spend, and I think there's a lot of clubs. And I don't know, I keep mentioning Everton and Forest, but Everton's was a case of, they didn't intentionally do anything wrong. Market forces and the world changed around them, which made it, value of borrowing went up. They lost a sponsor through the Ukrainian war. Listen, if they've got a control on that, but I'm just going to flip that over and I'm going to come back to the point of, I feel the Premier League themselves have caused a lot of this through poor policy, poor determination of what the boundaries are and lots of room for interpretation, etc. Slow to respond, and that's why I use this sort of like example of the VAT or HMRC. Look, no one likes it when they get involved, but when you've meddled with the rules. But the Premier League have just, as you say, all right, someone buys a club and they want to make money. Do we all remember how the Premier League wanted to play with BT and Sky and see who could come up with the biggest bids? And there wasn't a lot of ethical consideration there as to the sport. The sport is what is suffering from this.
It's still going on now, though, isn't it? Because now the Sky Sports have put the EFL, the number of games this coming season. All games in League One kick off at 5:30 on the Saturday for Sky. All of them.
Right, I didn't know that.
So why? You're now going to get clubs, granted they'll get a bigger TV package, they'll get more finance that way, but you'll also get a lot of people who don't think, well, there's no point going, is there?
Yeah.
No point going to Tuesday night. He's absolutely throwing it down. Bolton are playing bottom of the league, or they're playing a team who might not be exciting. I'm going to sit home and watch it. So therefore that stops the gate receipts, it stops the pies and the drinks and the club shop succeeding a little bit better.
Don't you think that as soon as football got televised, it is now, go back to the 50s, what ran a football club was who turned up. That is not really
not the case anymore.
That's
is it?
not factoring into your profit and loss at all. In fact, who turns up doesn't really matter to your profit. It's who's paying to screen and televise it. And that was always the argument, wasn't it? As you say, it might be a Tuesday night game and it might be in the middle of November and it's like 8 o'clock at night. The stadium was half empty, half full. Optimistic, let's be half full. But the club's not really that bothered. The TV is, because it's like, we're meant to be sending this out as though it's a lively game. But again, who created that mess? So a lot of this, as much as it is, and a lot of my City pals will think, I'm glad he's saying this, but I do genuinely believe it, I find it a bit hard to put it on the club as their fault and their responsibility. Because as you said, as soon as it started, you know, like United breaking the wage cap, Trevor Francis going for the first £1 million, they've never minded this. They've never had an issue with this. And they've sort of like set standards out and let them be ridden roughshod over. Well, that's what they've done. But for me on this, they've let it go so long. They're letting it go so long. You know, a lot of my pals are City fans. And they've kind of like been forced into this position that the club, before they had the money, they weren't arrogant fans like this. Listen, you know, United and City fans have never seen eye to eye, but take it to football. They never had that arrogance. City used to sort of like quite enjoy just going, and I even remember in the early 90s, late 80s, when a few of them used to say, the season's not a season without a relegation battle. So they're not naturally arrogant. But this has put them into the corner to do one of two things, either roll over and say, yeah, we're guilty as charged, slap it on us, we're quite happy to go out of the league. No, you're going to turn around and say, we don't deserve that. And hence the banners come up, and hence the stuff. That's not organically them as a club. So yeah, I go back to the mismanagement of who runs the house should have the rules. Whoever's in the house can do pretty much whatever they want if those rules aren't there. Do you see what I mean? Yeah,
you can't invent rules to say, well, do you know what? Well, these new rules now mean that 5 years ago you did something illegal. It just doesn't work that way. And like you say about it dragging on, you're looking at now November, so another 4 months away before the hearing happens, a decision in spring 25, and then a decision probably by the end of next season. So City have another season of this hanging over their heads. Football has another one. And I have got kind of feel sorry for the club, regardless of what City people think they've done or not done, illegally or otherwise.
Yeah, you've got two options, do or die.
Because the thing is, you look at the way Kylian Mbappe controlled his contract at Paris Saint-Germain. That wouldn't happen over here. He had a decision on players. He had an input on that. He was on ridiculous amounts of money. He's now gone to Real Madrid, probably on a similar amount. You know, you look at the way Barcelona have been run all these years. Nothing's ever really happened to that.
Well, as you're saying.
So why is it happening in the English League? Why the Premier League expecting clubs like old historic clubs like Nottingham Forest, Everton, Manchester City to be punished, whether it's their fault or not, and then other clubs to be punished indirectly, like Newcastle and Manchester United, and teams who want Aston Villa, who want to kind of get to that point, now can't, because these rules that they've put in place to punish Man City are now punishing every other team because they can't get to where Man City are now because they're not allowed to.
And let's not forget, those rules are as clear as mud.
Exactly.
So just going back to your Mbappe and stuff like that, there's one reason and one reason only why they would let a player do that in such a league that hasn't got anywhere near the prominence of the Premier League. They have to, because they're trying to get the brand and the money that the Premier League has done with Sky. And so they do have a duty to not sort of like sit back and pretend as though, well, it's a bit outrageous this, they haven't come to the table. What would they have actually gone to the table to discuss? Because as we saw with Everton and Forest, they did go to the table and the rules weren't very clear for them. And they did try to do the right thing. And The cat is out. The horse has bolted.
That entrepreneurial horse again.
How many animal, sort of like analogies can I use? But the cat's out of the bag, and it's well and truly, it's out there. It's on Bodmin now.
These animals are just running round now. They're running amok.
Black panther out there, and it's from Bodmin, and it was once a little kitten in a bag. That's what they've done. It's prowling. It's wild. It's ripping sheep's throats out and stuff. You know what I mean? It's what a film.
Wow.
What a film. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This cannot be. They can't even turn around and say, right, okay, let's return to the centre and we know where we're coming from. Because there's never been a centre. They've been so busy in profiling the Premier League, getting the money in, sharing it across. That ridiculous state when it went to TNT at this, well, it was BT, wasn't it? BT in Sport at the time. And every single club in the Premier League was now actually the wealthiest clubs in the world. Bournemouth were one of the most wealthiest clubs. And nothing against Bournemouth, but Bournemouth fans, you know that you're not going to be one of the world's wealthiest clubs. But through that, they were. So they were focused on that, and they weren't focused on keeping the house in order. And now it's an absolute bloody shambles. And I don't really, part of me says it's arrogant that City are taking them to court, but I think in their position, as I say, they've put them in that corner of, you either suck it up and we're going to absolutely batter you, or you've got to come out fighting.
Yeah.
So they're coming out fighting.
Well, it then goes back, it doesn't go back to, it then leads on to, should I say, the comments from Nick DeMarco, the football lawyer, who said that these tribunals and these processes have to be out in the public. They have to be transparent, because if a ruling is made, let's say we hear about it in another 3 years' time, by this rate, how do we know how lawful that ruling is if we don't know what they're being accused of, what the decisions were that were made, what agreements were in place? Why is football different to any other situation?
Run as a quango.
Yeah. Why should they have? Why should we, the public, not know who's doing the ruling, who the judges are? Because for all we know, again, not fact. I'm just going to put this out there. How do we know that?
That was semi-Alan Partridge.
It was.
Not my word.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyhow, go on.
How do we know that there isn't a Man City fan on the panel that no one knows about? How do we know that there isn't a Manchester United fan as a judge? All these things, and City fans will want to know the same as well. They'll want it public. They'll want to know that they're being treated fairly, they're getting a fair hearing.
There's a distinct probability they like United.
Who? The judge? Or the people who are putting the charges in? Anyway, one quick guest for us today. We're going to bring our cameraman Norman on, who tomorrow celebrates his 18th birthday, and we're going to bring him on as a special treat for him to give his opinion on. If you think there's a likeness, there is. He's not really called Norman. This is the boy. This is Robert. What are we thinking? What do you think about anything of the City situation? Keeping certain biases
I'm going to make sure the camera doesn't drop. We're not going to have any talking to City. It's not going to do what we did at City and drop where you swear.
I feel like. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I feel like it's such a random thing to do. Like, a team, I know over the past few years have been quite successful, but for them to do something like that, just to go to the Premier League, just to throw it all away, really, it's a bit weird. Obviously, Robert is a red, so we'll have his own opinions as Simon does. Do you think would you like to see, not just because it's City, a football team punished for breaking rules, or would you be happy to see him win because the Premier League haven't really been forceful enough with it? I mean, like you said, they've been a bit lenient with it, really. Just they've left it for so long. If it meant that much, then they would have done it. No, I agree with that. So much sooner, I'd done it sooner. But obviously, at the end of the day, it's a football team, innit? You don't want to see any football team go under. That's a very good point. Rather as a side, you don't really want to see any team go under. But no, true. If they're kind of playing the Football League for something they've done, then you want to see a bit of punishment come in, but you don't want to see a team actually go into liquidation because I mean, it's like we said before about Rangers. You don't, whilst a lot of fans will probably be all like, ha, City are in League Two or wherever they might go, you don't want to see them. You don't want to see all that work, because there are, as Sam said, proper fans who've been going for 40, 50, not saying other fans aren't proper fans,
but fans who've been there during the main road times when they were in Division 2, and they're enjoying themselves at this moment in time. And why would you not?
I was just going to say, I know I'm behind the camera, but I do actually know there's City fans out there that won't even eat medium rare steaks because there's too much red in it. No, seriously. So yeah, those are the people which are going to really kind of suffer on.
You can come back on, you know. It will be sturdy as hell. It won't. It'll be fine.
Falls over. You heard it here.
Well, we know a lot of fans. I know Everton fans who won't drink Carlsberg. I know United fans who don't drink Carlsberg because of the association with Liverpool. That's just tribalism. It's very worst. It's people just go, can't wear a green T-shirt. It's Plymouth Argyle, said an enemy of Plymouth Argyle.
An enemy?
A hater of Plymouth Argyle. You know, it's stuff like that. I can't wear blue. I'm a Liverpool fan. That's football, isn't it? That's just the tribalism we talk about.
We digress.
But well, we'd like to say happy birthday for tomorrow, Rob.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much wrapped it up. Really, we at this moment in time we don't know what's going to happen.
Any similarities?
I'm better looking.
We are now. You've got you from.
I'll just finish the video then. We don't know what's going to happen. We'd like it to happen soon, whether it's a successful verdict for City or the Premier League. It just needs happening.
We could have done this 3 years ago, Mike, and we still wouldn't know.
We'll come back in February.
Time, it still
In fact, we did the Odyssey of Bolton Wanderers. We'll do the Odyssey of
the 115 charges.
Manchester City versus the Premier League, or alternatively, Kramer versus Kramer, which is what it seems to be turning
It does.
out into. There's not going to be a winner in this.
No, there isn't. It's like I said, you know, it's if the Premier League are successful with charging City, it looks like we've had a corrupt winner for the past 4 years and however many times before that. And if they don't push forward, then other clubs will be like, why have you not done that? Why have you not made an example of them? Yeah. But unfortunately, because we only know the top view of these charges, we actually don't know if City are guilty or not because nothing's transparent enough. We don't know what.
Like you said before as well, like teams like Everton and Forest that are getting charged like minus 3 points here and there. Like,
I bet they wish it was 3.
But like over time. Nothing's happened to City since.
I think it's just because of the 115. I was listening to Simon Jordan on TalkSport, who I do enjoy, by the way. And Simon, you're probably not watching, but love your work. He said what the Premier League should have done is just gone 5 or 10 charges. Let's make that stick.
Yeah.
Just a lower number, and it'd been quicker. Now it's 115. The guys who have probably put the charges out probably had forgotten what charge 14 was, and they're like, I've
probably got a gold clock and retired. Anyhow, we will come back to this, but I am now going to use a well-worn phrase from a previous Saturday morning football programme where they said there's only one winner, football. Well, in this case, there's only one loser.
Football.
It is.
Wow, that hurt.
See you later.
All the best.
Bye-bye.